So first things first, I want to introduce you to some of the tools you're going to be using and some of the tools you're not going to be using. First off, when it comes to the cutting of your block, you're going to be using a little newer version than this hacksaw that I have here at home. There is some things that I want you to recognize with the hacksaw. Recognize is probably the incorrect term. Just some of the things I want to show you about it so you're aware of, because that does impact on how you use them. First off, I'm going to move away from the hacksaw and take you to a woodworking joinery saw, because it's made to cut wood, and in this case you're going to be using a hacksaw to cut metal, but the principles of the cutting are very, very similar. But you want to understand why. So first off, and this is not too technical, this saw is made for doing finer joinery. But the fact that it has a blade that is a entire full plate here allows it, and most other woodworking saws, to cut straight lines more easily. And that's important to remember. I'm going to get back to that in a second. The other thing I want you to be able to see, if I can get this lined up just right, you can actually see the teeth in the saw here are set. One is in that direction and the next one is in this direction. And the idea with this is that as the teeth cut this groove, or what they call the kerf in woodworking, they cut it a little bit wider than the actual saw plate. The idea being that as you cut the groove, the saw plate doesn't get hung up or start binding in the cut. Now, unlike the woodworking saw, the hacksaw does not have a full plate blade. It has a rather thin blade, and the teeth are not actually pushed one way or the other. The teeth part, or the tooth section, I should say, of the blade is actually wavy, and you can see that, I think, right here. And that, again, the idea being that it cuts a groove wider than the actual blade, and that way this part of the blade doesn't bind up in the metal as you're trying to cut. Again, this is important because as you cut, you have to be doing a few different things to make sure that your line is straight, your cut line, that is. First of all, you want to make sure that your saw remains at 90 degrees or perpendicular to the line that you're cutting. Secondly, of course, you have to guide it, so you don't want to be going this way or that way because it'll cut crooked. And thirdly, or I should say this way and that way. And thirdly, you want to be able to feel. So the idea is that you're going to grip the hacksaw in such a way with one finger forward like this, but not really, really tight, how many people feel the need to grab a hacksaw and then your other hand down here so you can really press down on it. You don't want to be doing that. You actually want the hacksaw weight, the weight of the saw itself, to do the work for you, and have a rather light grip on this so that you can feel what's going on. Now, as you start cutting the material, what's going to happen is, as you move a little this way or that way, as you're pushing the saw back and forth, as the blade goes down through the material, you'll be able to feel that it's binding up and getting tight, hard to push. When it does that, you want to correct yourself and come back to straight. And as long as it's straight, it will cut easily. So you won't require a whole lot of pressure pushing and hacking at the material. So when you have a nice smooth cut, an easy cut, it's going to take less energy, your arms aren't going to get so tired, and you're going to get a better result.